Hey guys, so one thing I want to say first of all is I'm talking a little bit quieter than normal out of respect for people who are sleeping in the house, but sometimes I feel like I talk a bit loud in these videos anyways, so let's give this a try and be a little bit more quiet. So it's been 25 years since Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, hit theaters, and audiences were instantly divided as to whether or not this holds up the mantle to the original Skywalker trilogy. I was born in 1999, so obviously I didn't catch this in theaters. With that said, I became oriented with Star Wars at a very young age, probably around the time that Revenge of the Sith came out. So I do have nostalgia for this film, and it's tough to be objective and not let your bias influence your critique of a movie. But I've come to realize that Episode 1 is an installment that I'm quite mixed on. It's tough. How does one evaluate a piece of art that has things that I love and things that I strongly dislike simultaneously? I didn't get a chance to catch this on May the 4th, but I did want to see it while it was in theaters because I feel like theaters are the best way to experience this type of blockbuster, and maybe it would sway my opinion a bit. I also haven't seen the movie in years. So how does it hold up? Honestly, better than I remember. I always thought there were more scenes in which characters monologue as they walk down horribly rendered green screens. There is some of that, but I think Attack of the Clones is more guilty of that crime. There is definitely some wonky VFX on Naboo, but the stuff on Tatooine holds up quite well, likely due to the fact that some of the sets were practical. There is one thing in this film that annoyed the shit out of me the first time I watched it. It annoyed me when I watched the film earlier today, and it will probably annoy me every time I rewatch it in the future, and that's Jar Jar Binks. Some people seem to have come around on the character. I don't think I ever will. And it's not the clumsiness that bothers me. That's fine. Use that for comedic relief every once in a while. But it's the voice, the constant complaining and screaming, and the fact that you never get a break from him, or I shouldn't say never, but you hardly ever get a break from him. You pretty much can't go 10 minutes in this movie without seeing him pop up, at least for a couple lines. Seriously, I would probably award this film an extra half star alone if we could watch a cut that has completely removed Jar Jar from the narrative. What does hold up quite well is the action, the stakes, the characters. In fact, I think I grew a new appreciation for some of the characters in this film. QuiGon is a tough one because this is the only Star Wars film that he's in, so we have very little time to spend with him to get oriented with him. But he fits such an important role in the Skywalker saga because Anakin never would have been trained as a Jedi if not for this guy who had faith in him. Ultimately, it would turn out that his faith was a bit misguided, but nevertheless, he is of great importance to the narrative, and I like the idea of him clashing with the Jedi Council a bit as to what to do with Anakin. Obviously, Anakin's story is a bit simple and corny in that he's this chosen one, but I think this film kicks off that storyline nicely, even though the actor who plays Anakin doesn't do an incredible job. It's tough to critique child actors. I think he does an okay job with the dialogue that he was given, and this is Star Wars. We're not asking for Golden Globe level acting. It's a space opera. You can have a little bit of cheesiness, and I think he fits that fine. Besides the Jar Jar stuff, another spot where this movie loses me a bit is when it gets into the politics of the Senate and the Republic and all of these different clashing forces. And there's a courtroom scene that I don't find that interesting. It's very important because it solidifies Palpatine's maneuvering into a position of power. There are just points where it feels like it really meanders from all the fun stuff that fans of Star Wars come to see, but we do get a lot of world building. I don't mind the Gungans' home world being an underwater city. It was cool to explore that for a few minutes. The stuff on Tatooine is where it's at though. I mean, that pod racing sequence holds up so well. It's an absolute blast. The race is intense, even though you know Anakin's gonna win in the end, but nothing else in this film holds a candle to the third act, which is everything that I want as a Star Wars fan. In fact, I would say it probably contains my favorite lightsaber battle of all time, where we have Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan facing off against Darth Maul with his double-edged lightsaber. It's an iconic sequence accompanied by Duel of the Fates by John Williams, which is also one of my favorite pieces of music ever composed. Ultimately, I am glad that I sat down and watched this in a theater. I think I was able to pay more attention to some details, not only with the characters, but also with the story. Even though I still think it's very flawed, I am still riding the line between decent and subpar with this movie, though, because Attack of the Clones, I think I'll always give that a thumbs down. It has too many problems that I can't ignore. Revenge of the Sith, I'll always love. I think it's easily the best of the prequels. This one, I'm always teetering back and forth with. I have trouble deciding what it deserves, but you know what? There's enough fun in it that I can go and watch it in a theater, even though I've already seen it about 4 or 5 times, and still enjoy it, still have a good, fun time. So I'm gonna give The Phantom Menace 3 out of 5 stars. As a reference point, I've always had this logged at a 2.5 on Letterboxd, but I'm bumping it up a little bit. Am I being biased and maybe letting my theatrical experience influence the score a little bit? Possibly, maybe, but there's too much to like in here for me to give this a thumbs down. And when it comes to the Star Wars fan base, most people are one of two things. You're either a prequel person or a sequel person. I'm gravitating more towards the prequels. I think the sequels have their moments. I still enjoy The Force Awakens, but this is a decent start to a very linear story that had a clear point A and point B. I think this sets up episodes 2 and 3 very well, flaws and all. So those are my quick thoughts on The Phantom Menace. It just felt right to post a video about it, given that this is the 25th anniversary. In fact, I would love to start doing this more in the future, so if you guys want to see anniversary videos for old releases, be sure to let me know down in the comments. As always, hit that like button and subscribe while you're at it if you want more content like this, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.